Hey girl, how you doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been like a crazy week. I think that with everything, the stars, the moon, like the energy, everybody's been like crazy and just trying to get themselves back together. It's also the end of summer.
Yes, yes. This has been a very weird transition for me, with the little one going off to kindergarten and the big one's in fifth grade, and kind of just floundering in my identity, and who I am now. What am I
Yeah.
going to do with all this extra time? And it has been really bizarre here too, to say the
Yeah, it's kind
least.
of funny because I feel like the summer always does that to everyone. You feel like this is like the middle of the year that you get to just really like dive into being yourself and going through all these fun plans and you kind of connect with other people. That's when you start to fuse and just have fun, whether it's with your family, your friends, or just even creatively. Like I think that we get really excited by that energy and then at some point towards the end we start to fall short. Like we got
Completely.
the ball, we were dribbling it, and we were having fun tossing it to everyone in our life, and we were really feeling that excitement. But suddenly at the end, we're like, whoa, the ball dropped, and where is everyone? And where am I? Where do I stand right now? We have a few months left of the year. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm going crazy. Do you feel like
Completely.
that?
100%, 100%. It's about the excitement of starting something, and then now what? Now that it is in the air, what does it look like when it comes down? What does it look like if you don't finish? And most people just
Yeah.
don't finish things. It's this, what to do when you're in the mud, and how do you get through that, and who is
Yeah.
that? How does that work out? So yes,
Yeah, and it's
lots
kind
of
of
frustration.
crazy. And it's so funny because you could be the most put together person, the most happy person. I know that you and I are generally happy people. We're always smiling, always joking around. But at the end of the day, if you're a happy person, you're probably the most freaking out, anxiety ridden person out there, most OCD, and nobody knows this, you know?
Yeah, it's like you can read my mind. Definitely. Oh, I think we're all plagued with this enough. Are you
Yeah,
doing enough? Are you being enough? Are you giving enough? Are you charitable enough? I mean, enough is a really hard trap that I think we all fall into, and we want to just feel like everybody loves us, and
every,
that's just not
we got
possible.
ourselves
It's this,
together.
yeah, it's a false expectations of perfection, that there literally is none. And I feel like all of us are just kind of out there floundering, figuring out what makes us feel
Yeah.
like just enough. And that is a hard wrestle. That is something to figure out how to get through. Um, and I love how we go back and forth on figuring that out. That it's still something that, as a health coach or a life coach, that we're still dealing with. That I don't feel like anybody can ever shed that completely. That society puts a lot of that pressure on us, and we choose to carry it. That it's heavy.
Yeah, and it's also like in a sense of feeling, am I ready? Am I ready to move on to what I really want? Or am I ready for anything, whether it's connection with people or just like an advancement in a career? Like, I know like summer brings on this great sense of like go getting, like go get what you want, get it done, you can do this. But then at a certain point you're like, oh, am I ready for that? And like that
Yeah,
fear starts to trickle
the
in.
fear.
And it's so funny because I don't know if you've experienced this, but I noticed that what I do is when I get to that point, I'm like, well, let me bounce this idea off of other people, or let me just be vulnerable and take off that mask and start speaking to people that I respect and trust. And it gets hard because once you start doing that, you're getting all this feedback left and right from people you respect and trust. But now you're like, oh man, well, this person said this. This is my instinct. What do I do? And
Yes.
then you're like at a whole new level of I'm stuck.
Hmm. Well, you're kind of riding
How
on
do you
their
feel like you handle
ideas.
those situations?
I really feel like I do the same thing. I mean, I think that that's a conundrum. It's still part of that enough. You want to help satisfy this, like, somebody gets you also, somebody agrees with you, somebody, enjoys that idea. But I really still feel like then we're starting to walk on this tightrope of somebody else, and trusting their tension in the wire is really hard. Like you said, it's very vulnerable. But ultimately, it has to come down to what actually fills your joy. if you start to adopt some of these ideas and concepts from other people of what they like, of what they approve of what they feel is good and, you know, right with the world, you start to lose a little bit of yourself. You start to really just question, what am I doing then? If I haven't been doing it this way, then maybe their way is the right way. They look successful. They look like leaders. They look like people who I should trust. But really what it comes down to is, what does your gut say? You know, that little gut feeling, there is a biological, you know, thing that's going
Yeah.
on there, which, you know, I love
There's a
that.
lot going on.
Yes, I love that little thing, but you have to figure out, where is that little voice in the back here, and how quiet can you get to be to listen to see if that really is what you should be following, if that idea is something you should adopt from somebody else and help make it your own, or is that really just something that's playing on your fear of failure or fear of success or fear of you know, the what if I do it wrong and disappoint people. You
Yeah, and it's kind
will.
of the psychological aspect too. Like as adults, we're always looking for people to nurture us. You know, because
Yes.
when you're an adult, you don't really have that many people who want to like stroke your ego or rub your back when you're not happy or you're feeling kind of scared. Like you really have to pull it together and really own your situation. So when we turn to these idols that we create in our personal society, like our friends or these role models that we meet that are leaders of groups that we join, or that they have taken you under their wing per se because they care about you, and they say that they respect you and they really want the best for you. Like I think a lot of us are faced with this fact of understanding, I'm turning to these people because I feel like they're giving me this psychological nurturing love that I've been wanting from people as an adult. But really, you're kind of putting yourself in a situation where you're handing over all your power, all
Yes.
this
That's
intelligence
it.
and this assertiveness and this, that you've had and you've built up, and you really got through all your situations with, like that you've got all your success, you've gotten your own like sense of self that people have really like absorbed from you and they respect. You're handing it over and you're
Yeah.
letting someone else pick at it and tell you, you should do this, you should do that. Like I know one situation I was told is that someone said, you talk too much. When you speak, nobody's listening to anything you say. Like it's just like a bunch of chatter. And I felt really bad about that. I know like I'm energetic and I know that I get a lot of concepts out and I have like a sequence of thought processes that I share with people. But I'm painting a picture for people, so I have to speak a lot. You know, I have to
Mhm.
use a lot of words to mold these mental images for other people to really absorb it. And I have to be very precise with what I say. Now, I wish I could just be very simple, tell you 3 words and speak in a haiku and just like have you get everything philosophically that I want to say. But that's not how a lot of people's brains work. You know, a lot of people want the full details so that they really get it, you know, and I when I was turning to someone who I was confiding in and sharing my strategies and my setbacks, I felt like I kind of was manipulated in a way, you know, and they felt like, oh, well, I know more. They're turning to me. So I'm going to just basically tell them what I like and what I think they should do. And at the end of the day, it wasn't constructive criticism. It was kind of abusive. You know, it was a manipulation of power. And I was at fault for that, for giving that over to someone. You know, like I think that we trust so blindly to people that we feel is at our same caliber that it really ends up crippling us in a sense. Like we completely start to lose grip of what we've created for ourselves. And it's crazy because it could happen to anyone. You know, you could even like
Yeah.
give that power to a spouse, to a boyfriend or a girlfriend or your best friend, you know, and by handing that over, you're kind of saying, I feel really weak right now. And I'm just like at my end. Like I don't know if I could keep going. And that's where somebody seeps in and they start to do what they may with you, you know, and they'll either use you to their advantage or they could be speaking blindly and not even noticing what they're doing to you. They won't
Right.
even notice that they're really like chipping away at you. The power of their words are pretty cruel.
Yeah, I
Have
mean,
you ever
it's
been in a situation like that?
completely, and pretty recently. Um, and really, what it's helped me learn is that, you know, maybe back in the day, like maybe high school, when you have that kind of juvenile approach to things, you feel like, oh, I have to get this vendetta against them. You know, like that was really wrong. When your real friends point out that, like, girl, you were taken advantage of, or what is going on? Like, that's not right. You're doing fine. I don't know what this person is telling you. And you kind of shake yourself a little bit. It's a little bit of a wake-up call to listen to those red flags. But also, I think what it teaches us is how to grow. I really love this concept of win or learn. You don't lose anything. But if you can learn something from it and help mold your future, I feel like it's just like what you maybe have come through, which is something I literally walked through a very parallel type of thing. And that it woke me up to the point of listening to myself more, listening to that little voice. I find it very spiritual to listen to that voice. I feel like it's God telling me these messages to, hey, that's not quite right. That's not what I had in mind for you. That's not what I want you to do. So I'm thankful for those little red flags.
Like really care about you, right?
Right, kind of, that they have their own ego at play, and that is not my battle. There's also this fun concept of not my circus, not my monkeys. You know, that you don't have to play.
Saying. You don't for everything. Not my circus.
Yeah, not my monkeys. And so we don't have to take on other people's opinions, even though they have the right to their own opinions. You know, if they want to hate on us and you know, and really think like, oh, you're not doing, and wag their finger about what we're doing, about our choices, about our priorities, that's their problem. That's not ours. And that's really where I know that I've personally grown. I've watched you grow through a lot of this. And it's, you know, it's something that just kind of helps mold us. So where before in high school as a juvenile, it maybe cripple you. It may put you into a state of panic and fear and like make you feel small and like, oh, woe is me, and pity party, and your friends are coddling you. Now you have the opportunity to take it and do something with it, which is just like, you know what? I realize that you are not going to be having my best intentions at mind.
Yeah.
I realize that you are somebody who doesn't serve my joy or my purpose or my priorities. So you have every right to get up, turn around, and walk away. And there is nothing to say that you have to, you know, hold that,
you don't owe anyone
that friendship.
Anything as an adult.
Yeah.
You don't owe anyone anything if they've wronged you or
right.
They are shedding some negative energy towards you, and you really feel this isn't constructive criticism. This isn't friendly advice. This is someone being bad and mean, and they are, like they're just manipulating you.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I love to say that as adults, we may be adults, but we always are constantly going through like that awkward puberty phase of being a teenager. When you hit it in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, you're still faced with mean girls. You're still faced with bullies. You're still faced with abusive relationships. Like, it's crazy. And you're still trying to figure out who you are in everything. You know, It doesn't matter how old you are. Like, you and I are different ages, and then we've been affected by people who are in completely different ages from us. So it shows that anyone could just be awful. Like, that's just the word. Like,
well, a lot of it comes too from them being young. If you don't deal with the problem when you're young or whatever the case is, whether it's with food or relationships or your career, it will reoccur. It will continuously come up until you've learned a lesson. So again, win or learn, move on. But some people just don't. And unfortunately, they put that on other people. Unfortunately, that means that they are spewing some of this energy and they maybe don't even recognize it. Some of the people with the best intentions might still be doing that. They have the opportunity to learn too. I just don't choose to do it at my expense. And so for me now, as a choice as an adult, I am after people who provide quality in my life, who give positive energy. So when I'm down, because I'm not always happy and peachy, I want to have that reciprocated as like a mirror, and vice versa. I want to be able to provide that to people. I want to have that to be a source that they feel like it's a safety, you know, we can come back to and help grow. It's not about, you know, damning anybody for what they've done and that they're done forever and, you know, shooing them out. But if they don't choose to see what they're doing is wrong, if they don't choose to look at it from a different point of view, I can't make them. And so I
No.
don't want to hang around until they find that out, because it will keep spewing this negative energy, and I don't have time for that. So.
Not only that, like picking you
But
apart, and if you're part of the same social circles, it is like Mean Girls. You know, it's
completely.
very awful because because it's a defense mechanism, they will speak about you. You know,
Yeah.
and it's sad because we have here what we both have faced recently is a clear case of strong, assertive people who have worked so hard to sacrifice everything for themselves, but to do good for others. You
Right.
know, and I'm not tooting our horn, but really that's what it is. You have really kind people that do things out of a genuine place, out of friendship. And then you have the people on the other end who may be intimidated by that. They may be intimidated by that kindness, or they see you so strong. And once you remove that mask and you're like, I feel like we're equals, I'm going to show you my true side, like that I am kind of vulnerable, that I don't share that to other people. They're like, well, this person's not that great, you know, and I know more. And they're suddenly on this high horse and they feel like this is their in to feel better about themselves and to also take credit for fixing you. You know, like I feel like
Right.
that was a huge battle I had, because at the end of me like disconnecting from that friendship that was taking advantage of me, that last week I kept feeling like this person was taking credit for all the hard work I put into myself. Whether I lost weight, I lost 35 pounds, and they were trying to take credit for teaching me how to do breath work and meditation. What is that? Like, breathing is not going to help me lose 35 pounds. Extreme that, like, really working hard on my diet plan, exercising, really taking healthy choices that work for me and my body, that helped me. You know,
Yeah.
meditation's beautiful. It really got me centered. It helped me work through some mental clutter, but for someone to take that credit, I was like, hold on a second, girl.
Yeah. It's very
And then
ego-centered, and the person
very
maybe just doesn't even realize that that's where they're coming from, because that's not their
yes.
intention. But what they have to do is an ego check too. You know, we all have to
And
get
it's funny
quiet and
because
listen.
we tend to have these people that we turn to, that they're leaders, and we think that they're our equals, our friends. And when they see you become vulnerable, their ego is pumped up times 20. Instead of being honored that you are and confiding in them and trusting in them, their ego is pumped
Learning.
up. They think that they're a little better than you. And they feel like they have this authority that they could tell you certain things that are completely disrespectful, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that in cases like this, when you have really happy people like us, and we're very strong and empowered and driven, and suddenly we meet someone that we feel like we could take that mask off, it shouldn't stop us from being vulnerable, because we have to be real. You know, like, you are a real human, so you want to, you can be. But as soon as you see, or you get those red flags that your instinct is blowing, and it's saying, I don't agree with what this person's saying. I'm not sure if they really get me. I'm not sure if they really have the best interest in me. Then that's where you have to be like, no more. Because yes, we could nicely think of this whole process as saying, I don't think you get me. I'm cutting this friendship. It's beautiful. But at the moment, I kind of agree with the fact of saying, you know, get angry. You know, like, you could be as put together and share with someone how you feel about them not getting you. Let's call it like, um, we could say, I don't think that we're on the same page, and you try to communicate it. But a lot of the times that other person on the other end doesn't see it at all like you are, and they
Right.
won't want to communicate with you.
Right.
So what do you do with that? Like, do you feel like you're always able to compose yourself and speak out clearly to get your message to have them receive it? Or do you feel like there's a point that you have to stand on your own two ground feet and be like, no, like, screw this, like, not gonna put up with this. You deserve to know that what you're doing is screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little of both, right? It's about where you fit best. So I feel like in the heat of a moment, I kind of stand more in shock. I can't believe this is going on. You know, I'm just kind of in my own head. You probably can read it on my face a little bit. But ultimately, you
Like
know,
the fish in the
if you do
fishbowl,
want to,
right?
yeah, if you do want to save something, if you really feel like something is worth rectifying because you see the good in someone, you see their intentions generally are really good, it is definitely best to try and confront, hey, listen, this is where I'm getting your message, and this is where it's not coming through very clearly. but there's definitely a way to deliver it. And I don't feel like that's through some weird, emails and texts like that. I feel like that's definitely a face-to-face conversation. That's something that they deserve. If you truly care to rectify it, whether it's a relationship or your career, whatever the case is, it definitely deserves a platform that you can say, okay, I'm going to give this a shot, but here's where I want you to know where I see this. I'm going to give you a fair shot, though. Here's all my cards, and I want to see your cards. If you're willing to work on those cards, great. Like, let's get that together. But if they're not, if they don't choose to see that their mindset, that their ego isn't really where it needs to be, then it's your choice to turn around and walk away. And I really feel like we should kind of wrap it up with the quote that I love. So it's from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he basically just says, what you think about me is none of my business. Because truly what it comes down to is us being responsible for what we say, what we feel, because we're all sending this ripple out into the world. And good or bad, you have a choice to make that. You can change it, or you can define it, or let it define you. But there's nothing saying that you can't make that choice to make a different step the very next month. So it's just what we want to put out in the world there. And I'm really blessed that we get to do this together. And I've loved, just kind of that back and forth of the parallels of things that we're going through in step 2.
Yeah. And I think just to finish that off too, is just to gain our power back, like I said in the beginning, we've gone through the summer, with this energy, and then we fell through and something happened that we're kind of stuck now. And we thought, okay, what happened? I kind of lost myself a little bit, but now I'm back. And I think that's something we have to always remember, is to fight for yourself, to be your own best friend. You can confide in other people, and luckily you'll find a gem. We found each other, and we're able to speak confidently and openly without any disrespect. But it's one of those things that if you notice those red flags come up, kind of in your situation or in my situation, just own it. If somebody completely is disrespecting you and you're communicating in such an adult and respectful manner, and they're still doing it, at a certain point, as a nice person, you owe it to yourself to get mad for yourself, and to defend your honor and be like, no, I'm not this person that they're painting me out to be. I am not going to allow them to think that they have every right to take credit for my hard work. And I will not stand for this. And it's okay to speak up. It's okay to tell someone off if it gets to that point, because there's so many different situations. Don't let someone manipulate you with fancy words. Because remember, you're smart, you are powerful, you already had all of this before you met them. So don't let someone manipulate you with words, because that's how you start to hand your power over to others over and over again. So that intuition that we were talking about, that gut instinct, just trust it. And if you know it's wrong for you, try to take the high route out. But if somebody keeps on poking at you, don't be scared to defend your honor, because at the end of the day, you're your own best friend.